Well, it's about time that a judge finally calls out the FBI and says what really happened. Stick with me, folks, and we'll talk about it in just a minute. Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and yeah, the FBI is finally being called out for what they did. Check this out. Now, this is from a website called Just the News. If you've not heard about this, this is a website where John Solomon and Sarah Carter and a bunch of others like that actually are doing real reporting have gone to kind of start up this site. So it has some really good stuff on it. The 21 words uttered by FISA court that changed the Russia collusion case forever. And this was the judge that was put on there. And for the first time, he rules that the FBI misled and rejecting years of excuse making and suggesting process reforms won't be enough. This is by John Solomon, by the way, and came out on the 9th. So, for much of the last 3 years, key law enforcement leaders have insisted they did nothing wrong. We did nothing wrong in pursuing counterintelligence surveillance warrants targeting the Trump campaign starting during the 2016 election. And they've added, if mistakes were made, they were unintentional process errors downstream from them and not an effort to deceive the judges. Yeah, right. Well, this Boasberg guy was put in charge of this, and he's supposed to be looking over it to give an idea of what needs to be done with the FISA court, the FISC. And so he put this out, and this is what he said. He said, there is thus little doubt that the government breached its duty of candor, which is, honesty and telling the truth, to the court with respect to those applications. In other words, they lied. Big time. Purposefully lied. And so finally, somebody's saying it. And I think this is huge. I really do think this is going to make an impact. This is the guy who is, like I said, supposed to be saying this is what is going to happen to make the FISA court work. From that level and dealing with the FBI and everything. So, the no-fault mantra has been spread by everyone from President Trump's former Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, who insisted the DOJ took its responsibility to submit, quote, admissible evidence, credible witnesses, very seriously. And there's a link there. If you want to go to that, you can, that's from a Real Clear Politics video there. You can go to that. To the ex-FBI Director James Comey, who declared recently it was nonsense, and that's from Fox News article, to suggest the Bureau opened a probe without good cause. So some of these defenses, including a focus on fixing process suggested by current FBI Chief Christopher Wray, have persisted even after Justice Department Inspector General Michael Horowitz issued a damning report in December finding the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act warrant applications targeting former Trump campaign advisor Carter Page were riddled with mistakes, including 17 examples of misconduct, misinformation, or outright lies. So it's a good article if you want to read it. There's something else I want to point out to you that I think is just really nifty on this particular website is that when you click this dig in, link up here, look at this. You get other stuff. So more on that particular topic. Here's Comey testifying before the Senate Intelligence Committee. And then we have down here some different things, PDFs and, things that have to do with it, more links to different articles. So I really like that feature. I hope they do that with most of the articles. I've seen it on a couple, but it's a good website. I really like this. And you get some reliable reporters in there and, it could become something really big. I hope it does. Well, speaking of reporters, here's Catherine Herridge, and, she says, Scoop, Cyber criminals, a Chinese affiliated group, are already leveraging the illness that shall not be named fears with targeted campaigns. Crowdstrike laid out the evidence. Crowdstrike. So what's really funny is that she said Crowdstrike, and the minute she said that, and there's an article there if you want to go to it. Okay? So yeah, Crowdstrike is the same company that was unable to identify the DNC employee who downloaded emails from 10 PCs in late May of 2016, even though they had their state-of-the-art monitoring tool called Falcon installed. Here's a sample log. Yeah. And then they're all calling him out on it. I mean, everybody. Here's the date and time of the PC of the DNC email extraction. No malware was needed, just an unlocked PC. There's a WikiLeaks email from the admin informing staff of maintenance for this time frame. And, yeah, you lost me at CrowdStrike. It's funny. CrowdStrike? That's a little scary. Our military intel uses them still? Who? Not that I know of. Too many questions about CrowdStrike. Wow, CrowdStrike. I hope you had the opportunity to ask a few follow-up questions. We don't trust CrowdStrike. Sorry, Catherine, but CrowdStrike doesn't have any credibility to me. They need to release the DNC server as a good faith gesture, or they will never be taken seriously. Yeah. So, anyway, are we really going to trust CrowdStrike again? So, anyway, I just thought it was really funny. This is the purpose of the 17th letter of the alphabet. That when people put that information out there, we come back and we say, no, wait a minute. We know what CrowdStrike is. You can't fool us because we're informed. We are informed voters now. And so, anyway, let me go on because I think this is huge as well. Okay? Appeals court rules DOJ must give sealed Mueller materials to Congress. Okay, so all those grand jury things that were sealed in the Mueller report, gonna have to be given to Congress. That should be big because, it's all going to be out there. That now, obviously not to us, but Congress will have it. And the members of Congress that see it will know everything. And I think that some of the grand jury information that's in there may be surprising to a few people. So, should be fun. Anyway, interesting article if you want to go through it and you want to read about it. They pop up all these things. So, they did rule on Tuesday that the Department of Justice must hand over grand jury materials from former special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation in Congress. I get out of there. Okay. And they decided, yep, it's not going to work out. The DOJ really does not have a reason to keep that from Congress. Now, I know that's what the Democrats wanted because they're hoping that there's a little kernel of something in there that will help them nail Trump. But I don't think that's going to work. So I think they're going to be kind of surprised what's underneath there. There was not a lot that was redacted, really. And I don't know if that will open the door to other grand jury material being put out or what. But I just thought that this was interesting that the court ruled that, yes, they do have to give that sealed material to Congress. So could be very interesting on that one. This one was something that came up a few days ago, well, back in February. And I wanted to give it to you then, but then other stuff came up and I kind of got pushed aside. This is an Indiana teacher who was fired for posting an article about indoctrination taking place in the schools. Now, the situation is that, and here's a video that you can watch where she basically tells what was going on. And she was very upset because the school system, and she had a daughter in there, I believe. Yeah, she had her daughter in there. And the school system decided that they were going to allow students to go into facilities according to whatever gender they identified with. And that was being done, that policy was being implemented without parents being informed that it was going to be implemented. And so that's just, it wasn't right. And she stood up for it. The movement she was working with was called Purple for Parents, and that parents have the right to know those kinds of things, and they have a right to know this stuff is happening. And so, I'm going to leave this down below so you can see it and you can watch that video. And then here is an update that she has where she has been fired, so she no longer has a job. And I believe that they also made her take her daughter, out of school. So her daughter doesn't attend there anymore. And she was just trying to tell people what was going on. I'll tell you folks, if you know Christian teachers, if your child has a Christian teacher in public school right now, pray for them. Write them little notes of encouragement, because there is a battle going on and it's tough. It's tough to be a conservative Christian in today's schools. The public schools are not a very welcoming place because they're at odds with what we believe and with our faith. So, if you're a praying person, pray for them. It's always nice if you could just send them little notes, or sometimes, they have email addresses. If you just email a teacher and give them, kind of a thanks for what you do, or I appreciate you taking the time to help my kid with this or that, it could go a long way. I mean, teachers don't get a whole lot of encouragement. By the way, I apologize for the sound in the background. My computer hard drive is pretty full and I've not had time to do all my backups recently, and so I can't take stuff off yet, and the fan is running really bad, so it makes quite a bit of noise in the background, and I know this microphone picks it up, so I'm sorry for that it's making so much noise. But anyway, the left really cannot meme. I don't get it. Somebody made this meme on the left, and they looked at it and admired it and never realized what it really said. I'm thinking using a torpedo was probably not the best word to combine with Joe Biden. So anyway, the left they just don't get it. They really don't know how to do it well. They think they're being funny and they kind of torpedo themselves, which they did there. So anyway, wanted to point that out to you. All these links are going to be down below, so you can see it yourself. Harvard tells their students to move out by Sunday due to the illness that shall not be mentioned, because they're going to do everything online, and not necessarily a bad solution, but I will tell you that there are things that a teacher can do in a real classroom situation that's really hard to do online, and it all depends on how they have it set up. I was a French and Spanish teacher, so it would be really hard for me to get across the material that needed to be received by them, because a lot of it would have to be me talking to them, and the method that I used, we created stories together, and that's how I would question them on the stories in the target language, and that's how it worked. And I just can't see doing that online. It would be a lot of fill out the form type things, which is totally boring and not really very effective, to be honest. But they're Harvard students, so I guess that puts them up above the rest. But they're supposed to move out of their dorms by Sunday at 5 p.m. so they can put them online. It's time for spring break anyway, so they were going to take spring break, and so this is their opportunity. Instead of when they come back, which was supposed to be March 23rd, they're going to move everything online. So I guess that's one way of doing it. See, there it is on the Harvard site, and it just says, we're kind of watching things, and we're going to be transitioning to virtual instruction for graduate and undergraduate classes. So, yep, I'll leave the link down below. And then there's this guy. Boy, I don't know if you know him, but he is not a nice guy, and he likes children. Let's just say it that way. Not in a good way. And so he's very disturbing, whatever. So yeah, this is what he's thinking right here. And he had a tweet. He even had a tweet out about it. And yeah, this is really scary. But these people never seem to get their tweets reported, do they? I think it's pretty sick. He's been reported many times. He's said some pretty offensive things and been very blatant about the children aspect of things. So, I don't know. Very strange. Bad people sometimes, right? So, then I wanted to show you this. You might have already heard Alex Jones was arrested for drunk driving, supposedly, but then he was cleared of it because his alcohol level was under the limit. So, I don't know. Anyway, I'll leave this down below. It was less than 0.08. And so, anyway, I don't know. He was speeding 45 miles in a 40 mile per hour zone. That doesn't sound too much. I don't know about you, but I live in the Midwest, and when the posted limit is 40 miles per hour, it's pretty much understood that you can go 45 and not have a problem. If somebody pulled you over for 45 and a 40, that would be a pretty picky cop. We don't tend to have those too much around here. So, yeah, when you're on the highway, if it says 55, a lot of people go 60. So, just saying. Yeah, just saying. I'm not condoning it, but just saying. This is a little disturbing right here. This is a video of Schumer, and I'm going to play that for you because I need you to hear what he has to say.
I'm going to be blunt. We are very worried about the president's incompetence and lack of focus on fighting the spread of coronavirus. We believe that his lack of focus is hamstringing efforts to address this public crisis and inflicting pain on the stock market. One word could describe thus far the administration's response: incompetence. The best way, we would tell the president, the best way to ensure economic security right now for the American people is to focus on fighting the illness and the spread of the illness. Ask any CEO today what they want most. I'll bet they tell you they want the coronavirus to be contained. And you know what doesn't help the spread? You know what doesn't help stop the spread of the coronavirus? More corporate tax cuts. Here's what we're worried about: that the president will pay attention to the special interests instead of the people. Here's a headline from the Washington Post, just came out, 128. White House likely to pursue federal aid for shale companies hit by oil shock. Coronavirus downturn. We don't have enough tests. People can't determine if they're ill or not. They have to wait days, and they're concerned with the oil companies that pierce the shale and get oil. Is that incredible? Let me tell President Trump what does stop the spread of coronavirus: steady, smart, scientific, and competent leadership from the government. President Trump and his administration should be putting people before corporations, and they should be focused on taking appropriate steps to keep the American people and their economic security safe.
I mean, how stupid is the man? Really? Does he not understand that if these companies go under, people lose their jobs? They have no money. They have nothing. These jobs are what keep the people going. And he wants to take the jobs away. You know, this is going to hit certain industries pretty hard. And, you know, the idea that it helping out a company isn't going to help the workers in that company is stupid. It's just stupid. And, the whole thing that he's talking about, there are so many lies in that, I can't even address them all, because pretty much most of what he said is a lie. Trump is doing an excellent job with this. They've been very proactive. They keep accusing Trump and Pence of not believing in the scientists. It's like, excuse me, have you been watching these different things when they have these press conferences where they have all of these scientists around them? They step back and they let the scientists talk. The scientists are not being kept from doing what they need to do. And talking about there not being any tests, that's a lie. The tests are getting out there to the people that need them. They're getting out there. And in fact, I just saw a letter somebody had said that they just got an email from Medicare that said, hey, if you need this test, you will get it paid for. It'll be paid for. You don't need to worry about that. You'll get the test. And if you need any hospitalization, we're going to take care of that. Medicare will take care of it too. So this is it's a pack of lies. And they know it. This is the most frustrating thing about it, because when somebody like Chuck Schumer stands there and says this stuff, he knows it's a lie. And it doesn't faze him. He's lied so much his entire life, he doesn't care. It doesn't matter to him. Lying is a way of life for these people. And that, boggles my mind, because that's not the way I was raised. That's not the way I've lived my life. Lying is not a part of me. I'm not saying I never lied in my life, but I don't do that. If I'm telling you something, it's straight shot, folks. In fact, if anything, I tend to be a little brutally honest at times. But this, when you can stand there and lie to people without it fazing you at all, I can't believe that. Anyway, so I needed to point that out to you, because I kind of wonder if they're working towards, or if they're trying, okay, it's not going to happen, but if they're trying to plant the seeds of a 25th Amendment thing. They have very few tricks up their sleeve. They just keep rehashing them in different ways. And so, anything they can blame Trump for, because, this whole illness is his fault, right? So, according to them. All right, here's another one that'll make you go, huh? Okay, Rob Reiner. Oh, yeah. He says, a vote for Joe Biden is a vote for science, compassion, decency, the rule of law, and democracy. A vote for Joe Biden is a vote for sanity. Oh my goodness. This is just too funny. And you start looking through these and it's like, yeah, oh. It's just, some of them, yeah, according to Dementia Joe, 150 million Americans died by guns in the last decade. I mean, when you go through it, obviously some of them are pro-Joe, which is sad. But look at this one. Biden isn't an alternative to Trump. Biden is Trump? I think not. And if you haven't seen this, Biden got into it with some workers and about his gun control agenda. And he was not nice to them at all. Of course, this guy has to laugh. It just, there's one down here I wanted to show you. Joe, nothing will fundamentally change is the opposite of sanity. And then this one, sanity. And then this is the one I like. You spelled senility wrong. So, anyway, to vote for Alzheimer's. So, yeah, and by this time, you know that the results have come in. Well, look at what's trending over here. Number 3 in politics, lose with Biden. Number 2 is bye-bye Bernie. Number one is The Bachelor. Oh, geez. No, what's our world coming to? So, yeah, bye-bye Bernie and lose with Biden. And if you go to lose with Biden, these get to be pretty funny. I mean, it changes all the time. If you bring up the link that I have, it's going to change because it's changing even now as I'm doing this. Yeah. And a lot of these, the lose with Biden, are Democrats who are complaining about it, who are saying they're kind of mourning, I guess. This person would be destroyed by Trump. Vote for Bernie. Do you really think Bernie could stand on stage with Trump? Oh. Anyway, it's very interesting. It's kind of the Democrats going, we're losing. There's no way we're going to beat Trump now. So, just kind of interesting. Yeah. Joe Biden's brain is melting, yet we keep standing for him. This system is rigged. Well, it is. I told you, Bernie was never going to get the nomination. And I wonder if, they are just trying to keep Joe in there just because as long as Joe's in there, they can still claim, oh, you can't investigate anybody, can't investigate the Ukraine thing because of Joe. So, yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, look at this. There are mind-blowing 3 million ballots still unprocessed from the March 3rd California presidential primary. We talked about that in a previous video. So, and of course, there's some on here that, hate Trump. But the funny thing is, it really is a lot of Democrats using that hashtag because they know that, Joe cannot stand up to Trump. There's no way they'll win with Joe. So, yeah, go through and watch them. It's kind of fun to see them kind of melting because of this. So, they're worried. They're scared. And them exit. Yeah, there are a lot of people that will leave the party and just say, I'm not going to vote at all because I don't like either choice. We kind of had that happen with McCain. People didn't really care for to get McCain in there, but yet what else were you going to do? Vote for the Democrats? And so some people didn't vote. Some people didn't vote with Donald Trump. Some people didn't vote with Mitt Romney. So it happens, but I think this choice is putting a lot of the Democrats in a tough position, and they probably will, hold their nose and vote for Biden anyway, but, they're not going to win. I just don't know how he could ever win against Trump, ever. And I really don't know if he'll be a free man by then because, the investigations are going on. Now, I'm not sure. Lindsey Graham, he does some good stuff, and I really do think he's doing investigations because, Ted Cruz is on that committee. And so if the Judiciary Committee in the Senate is not doing what Lindsey Graham has said they're doing, that they're investigating and going to subpoena Hunter Biden and the Burisma people, then Ted Cruz would make sure everybody knew that wasn't happening. So as long as it's kind of behind the scenes, I don't mind that so much. And let me tell you why. Because when they do depositions that are closed door hearings, the reason that is not such a bad idea is, first of all, it doesn't allow for the Democrats to do their grandstanding method. I mean, that's what they like to do because that gives them sound clips. So the media will, play those same things over and over again. And it helps the media, and the Democrats love it because it gets their name out there and makes them look good to their constituents. But they're not honest because the media only plays those kinds of clips. They don't play where the Republicans are actually exposing the lies. They don't play that part. So it ends up being kind of dishonest when they do it. And that's something that is not good for us as Americans. If the camera being there is going to make the Democrats act like it's a circus, that's not a good thing. If they are behind closed doors, when they do those depositions, it's a different procedure. Instead of having each member have 5 minutes, they end up having, like, each party has 45 minutes to an hour to ask questions. And they can choose to have a lawyer do that, or they can choose to have one or two of the staff do that. And when they do that, then, they have an hour for the Republicans, then an hour for the Democrats in the Senate, because, we're the majority. And so that would enable us to be able to build a case. If you have only 5 minutes, you can't build a case. In order to build a good, solid case, you're going to have to ask a series of questions, because it's in those questions where you can get the person to contradict themselves or to end up saying things that, will reveal what's really going on. And that's what you have a good, skilled prosecutor. They can do that. And we have some lawyers in the Republican Party that are good, skilled prosecutors who could do that. Or, like I said, they could also have a lawyer do that for them. So then they have maybe an hour to ask their questions. The Democrats have an hour to ask their questions. Then it goes back to the Republicans for an hour, and then to the Democrats for an hour. It goes back and forth until the questions have all been asked. And so it really is a much better way of building cases. You can get to the truth easier that way than the 5-minute things. So it's not a bad thing that it's behind closed doors. We don't get to see it until it's released, if it is released. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. And it all depends on how much classified information is in there. And even with that, they can redact if they have to. So it's just one of those things that I think with Lindsey Graham, I think he really is doing things. But the real work is being done by Senator Ron Johnson. Okay, he's in the Homeland Security. So his committee is really doing the majority of the work, I think, in that. Because remember, Lindsey Graham's committee has to also do all of the confirmation hearings. So, I think that probably between the two, they've been working together. And I think probably they will come up with subpoenas that will allow them both to get people in, and they come at it from different points of view, what things they're having oversight over. So it does make a difference for the committees. They'll target the people and the things for their specific oversight responsibility. So it is going to work out. They are working on that. They've been working on it for a while with the Burisma connection and the State Department documents and everything. So I don't know exactly what's going on. It seems very interesting. I just wanted to point this out to you that, have you noticed with the illness that shall not be spoken, there's been a lot of focus on that totally, to the exclusion of everything else, it seems like. Remember, we're not talking about Hunter Biden too much anymore, although he was in the news because he refused to show up because of the illness that shall not be spoken. He's claiming that, although there are no cases of that in Arkansas right now, so there would be no reason for him to claim that. However, he doesn't want to show up because I don't think he wants to show his monetary situation, because it would be very revealing, I'm pretty sure. And so, but the focus has been off of that. People aren't talking about it anymore. And this is the way things usually happen. When something comes out and it's very damaging to the left, all of a sudden something else happens to take our minds off of it. And nobody's talking about it anymore. Nobody's talking about the FISA abuse report. Yeah, nobody's talking about that. But it needs to be spoken of because there was a lot of corruption that was indicated in that if people would just read it. So anyway, that's what I've got for you on this one. I just wanted to share these with you. The links will be down below. Remember, if there is a link and in the link itself it uses the word of the illness that shall not be spoken, I can't put that in there. I put in a little asterisk or something for some of the letters, and you may have to type those letters in to get the link to work. Just letting you know. Yep, you have to do a few handstands once in a while, but it's worth it. You get the information out there for everybody. So that's what I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.